Good morning and welcome, Brad Gruber. I am so thrilled that you can be with us today. Today, we are having this great summit, which actually is helping new dog owners and new dog ownership to actually facilitate new dog ownership, right? And you are a fantastic person. I have known you for a while, and you're I find you such a good leader and such a visionary business owner. So welcome, Brad.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
for
the
having me.
owner of Health Extension, right?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's puppies and pets have always been a part of my world. Now I'm fortunate to be in the industry, so I get to speak to you on this. But look, it all traces back to like everybody else. When I was a little boy and I wanted a puppy, and I actually saved up my own money and bought my first puppy. That was a big goal of mine. I took all my savings and I bought a puppy, and then my parents bought a cat, and she slept on my head for my whole childhood. And so pets have always been just such an important part of my world, and to get to do what I do on a daily basis is awesome.
Fantastic, Brad. So you're the owner of Health Extension and Snuggaroos, two different lines, and I would love for you to give some of your insight on pet food and how do you actually feed this new puppy of yours, and what do you do for this dog, and where do you see the most crucial things happening in a dog's life, especially at the beginning?
Yeah, I actually really love when I get the opportunity to interact with a brand new puppy owner. It doesn't have to be a first-time puppy owner. It could be somebody who has other pets already.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something special about bringing home that new puppy. It's a very exciting time in a family, right? You're bringing home this new family member, and you're either a new pet parent or you're expanding your parenthood. And what I've found, over time is when you get the opportunity to kind of start from day one with the right stuff,
yes,
you wind up having much better success. Nutrition could parallel to dog training as well, right? So
yeah,
I've always thought in dog training, it's a lot easier to prevent the dog from learning the bad behavior than to actually now correct the bad behavior, right? If you learn the good behavior out of the gate, it's a lot easier than having to sort of unwind that. And it's sort of the same for your body and nutrition, right? If you could put the good stuff in from day one, then you don't wind up having to, it's like food as medicine, right? You don't wind up having to then have issues and problems down the line.
right.
And I guess in that vein, I like to say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And
Absolutely.
it's all kind of tied in that, to what I just spoke on, because the reality is there's an overwhelming number of choices for pet parents out there today in the space of nutrition. There's a lot of education that they can get. Hopefully this summit is a piece of that offers them the right stuff. I think that it's important that if you start off, with high quality foods and supplements that go into the body, you wind up with a much healthier adult dog, right? So really, what is a puppy? It's really from 0 to 1, right? Meaning,
Yes, true.
Until they reach 1 year old, they're considered a puppy. Even if it's a large animal, you could be a puppy at 9 months old and be 100 pounds already, but it doesn't mean anything. They're still a puppy. They're still growing. And during that growth phase of that first year of life, putting in the best stuff, right? Again, it goes both into behaviors. That's a big deal. It's a big time.
Very important. Yeah.
Right? We all know that. We see that. It's more obvious. Like we don't want the dog doing bad things in the house. Same thing for the body, right? During that first year, we want to really be training ourselves mostly as pet parents. But we want to be giving the animal, whether it's a dog or a cat, right? We want to give the dog the right stuff from the beginning, right? So what does that mean? We're looking for stuff that has, high quality ingredients in it, products that actually are nutritionally sound and bioavailable. And we're doing it with a holistic approach, right? So
Yes.
a holistic approach, what does that mean? What I find often in my space is now we're manufacturers of many products, food, treats, and supplements, and many other products.
Yes.
But just to keep the focus there, I've found many times, we make an incredibly high quality food. But then there might be a treat that a pet parent selects that looks really cool, but it's actually really low quality.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the dog's is scratching and itching. And if you ask a nutritionist, if you ask a vet, they go for the food and they say, oh, what are you feeding them? And we should change the food, but we don't ask the questions of, well, what else are we giving the dog, right?
Oh yeah, that's a very, so what you're saying is you have to be consistent, right? So it has to be a consistently high quality. It doesn't matter what, in the sense of, it doesn't matter if you feed a treat or a food or a supplement. It has to be in the same range of quality, which needs to be a high quality in terms of nutritional value, right?
Very high quality, right? I mean, a short story from it was just last weekend. I went to a good friend's house. His level of pet parentship is very high, where he doesn't actually give them dog food. He actually cooks for them, which is a whole nother level of caring for your dog. But then I was in the house, and so I got to see these treats that were really not good for the dog. And so it's a disconnect, right? So I think that's one of the most important pieces as a pet parent tries to educate themselves to make sure they stay consistent and feed all the healthiest things they could give the dog.
Thank you, Brad. That's a really good input, especially for the audience here. I think it's relevant to kind of strike a balance, because there are lots of people, lots of voices. We also had some speakers on the summit who are very adamant about, cooking for the dog, fresh food, etc. Myself, I have had a lot of experiences with kibble as well. And I'm a dog owner, as you know, of multiple dogs. And I do feed kibble, I have to say. So I don't cook, I have multiple dogs. And of course, it's also a time constraint. There's lots of constraints around that. So where would you say a good, healthy balance would be, between a kibble and fresh food? And are there alternatives for, let's say, complicated frozen fresh foods and,
Yeah, sure. So, like all food, especially in our human world, not all things are created equal. So not all kibble is created equal. For instance, our kibble, we use fresh whole food ingredients. It's slow cooked. We topically coat it with over 30 superfoods to really enhance the immunities and health benefits that the the puppy will benefit from.
Hence the name Health Extension, right?
Health Extension, that's right.
Right.
So it's now a world where you can what we like to call kind of create a plate. You could use kibble exclusively, but you could also use kibble and fresh food. And in the middle of that, you can use cans, and you can use air dried and freeze dried, and you could really have a fun experience to give the puppy a very healthy mix of a lot of things. And sometimes that's a really great approach. It's kind of like everything in moderation is sort of an approach to take in life, and it's kind of a nice way to balance everything for the puppy.
That's wonderful. And I think also you have a real innovation in the space, I found. What would that be? That's something which is not fresh, and it's not really, what is that?
So we took our fresh human grade ingredients and we found a way to cook them. And I always have my thing here that it's the taste of home, but no cooking required.
You're kind of covering the no cooking required. So that's interesting, right? Cool. Right?
But it's we were able to cook it. We simmer it in bone broth, and we hand pack it in a pouch that then is able to stay preserved and not something that you have to then put in your freezer and thaw out or keep in the fridge or any of the inconvenient things that I find some of the fresh home cooking is kind of subject to. You can now take this pouch and have it on the go. You could just have it in your pantry, and you could just open it up and squeeze it out and give it to the dog. And it's this beautiful, fresh bowl of food, affordable, reasonable, and extremely healthy for the dog. And you could feed it as a complete diet, right? So you can just take the pouch. That's it. That's what the dog gets today. You could mix the pouch with kibble or air dried or freeze dried. You could go at it a lot of different ways, but I find it's I love the fresh food approach. I love seeing everybody in the industry starting to get around this higher nutrition, but I kind of felt like, I don't know, practically as somebody, who works, I love my dog, but I could barely cook for myself sometimes.
Correct.
So, this kind of what I call shelf stable. It's this way to give your dog this fresh food without having to go through all the inconveniences that I think are subject to frozen foods.
I think you're making a super good point here. As I said before, also if you have multiple dogs like me, I mean, I couldn't possibly cook for them, even if I wanted to, right? I'm time constrained and etc. But the question, and I think the reasoning behind feeding your dog with a fresh food is all the nutritional value, right? And I often compare that with, how sometimes people say it's actually better to buy a frozen spinach than a fresh spinach, because the fresh spinach has traveled a long time, until it's in the supermarket, so it loses a lot of nutrients on the way. So on that food you were just talking about, what is it called?
Gently cooked. It's
gently cooked. Okay, gently cooked. So on the gently cooked food, how do you keep the nutrients valuable?
Because everything is cooked and simmered, and then it's hand packed.
Wow.
So really
right there,
right in the pouch, and it just stays preserved with the natural vitamins and minerals that are in it. And it's really an incredible innovation that we found really kind of changing the trajectory of the way that we feed our dogs today. Yeah,
that's great. So for new dog owners, not only puppy owners, like let's say somebody adopt a shelter dog, right? So what would you say? Some of those dogs are highly, traumatized. So how do you actually go about that, especially in the realm of food, but also in the realm you were pointing out behavior? So what do you do?
I think one of the biggest things is, you stay consistent. Consistency has always been a very big word for me. Whatever you choose to do it, right? Give the dog that consistency. When you feed them, how you feed them. That ties to behaviorists, right? That ties to if you're a puppy, we're talking potty training, right? Making sure they have a really clear schedule.
Yes.
And just staying in that routine. Again, as I go back to the first year of life, but to your point, even if it's a sheltered dog, maybe there was trauma, maybe there wasn't, maybe we have an adjustment period. Let's just start on the right path, right? Let's stay away from things that are going to cause allergies. Let's stay away from things that are going to give the dog issues that you don't really want to deal with, right? I go back to the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I see a lot of very high veterinarian bills out there because pet owners
absolutely.
We get very scared, and we want to make sure we're taking care of our animal the right way, and we'll do anything for them. And the best thing to do, it really starts at the beginning, right? Just give them that quality nutrition. It's going to solve so many of the other issues. I'll expand on that for a quick moment. So we make supplements too. Supplements, just the ones that I really feel are most important, especially developmentally, right?
Yes.
We make a joint mobility. Why? Because when the puppy is growing, joints and bones are growing, but ligaments, tendons, cartilage, it's all forming. So adding this high quality, powder on top of whatever you're feeding the dog, it makes it so that during that first year, right, it's all growing the right way. You're so much less likely to have issues when the dog is 5, 6, 7 because you grew up the right way.
Yes.
So it's an important piece, I think, to whether you're a puppy or just that first year of bringing the dog home.
Yeah. So this, you're pointing at something, especially large breed puppies, right? They have a very big growth spurt. So, and the body has to grow. It grows very quickly in a short amount of time. And I think supplements are the way to go there. Now, Brad, I think you and I have been in the business for a while, and we know a lot of pet food and a lot about pets. And what would you recommend in terms of orientation for a new dog owner? How does he get actually the information what to feed his dog? Like out there, if you stand in a PetSmart, right, or in a Petco, You hardly see people who can help you. And sometimes I have the feeling they're very biased to something. So what is the best way for the new puppy or dog owner to get orientation?
There's a lot of education out there. I think if you look at websites like ours, you're going to wind up being able to read blogs that are relevant to you. You're going to be able to find information that is meaningful to the choices that you're looking to make. I personally think there's a little bit of education and a common sense approach. I find the easiest thing to do is just turn over the product, read the ingredients, right? That's
Right.
the one thing that somebody has to do. Read the ingredients. And when you don't understand something, and I'm not referring to most of us don't understand, the vitamins and minerals and what they mean. But most of the time they're fine and they're part of a blend. Look at the core first 10, 15 ingredients that you're reading. And if you don't know what something is, Google it. And get yourself educated on what that is, because an ingredient in a pet food may not be what you think it is. An inferior ingredient like a corn gluten meal or a byproduct of sort, right? Just read it and educate yourself on what it is. And know that just because the food is expensive doesn't mean that it's good. What I find often,
Good point.
then is, I'll have a conversation with a pet parent who's feeding a brand that costs more than our food costs, and they're proud of it for giving their dog this amazing stuff. And I go, oh okay, yeah, let's give it a read. And then we get ingredients in, and I go, do you know what that is? And then they Google it, and then they go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm giving that to my baby. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because with the quality ingredients that we put in our food, there's nothing in there that I wouldn't eat myself. And the reality of that is, it actually can cost a pet parent less money to feed better food. And that's one of the biggest, as a brand, that's one of the biggest education pieces and sometimes disconnects that make people go, oh, it doesn't make sense, right? We think, in our world, right? You go to a good steakhouse for a really good filet mignon, you expect to pay a lot of money for it, exactly. and you're okay with that. It's very disappointing if you did that and you find out it's actually a very inferior piece of meat. What did I pay $70 for?
Absolutely.
And pet food is not cheap. It's
No. So would it be fair? That's actually super cool what you just said, because it brings me to the point of, is it a good idea to use the same line of food? Let's say, because you said something very interesting. I like this create your plate type of idea, because actually it guarantees that the consumer can stay within the same universe of food. So I guess your food is kind of aligned with one another, right? So I could find healthy treats from Health Extension, which work well with the food. I can find almost home cooked, right? The taste of home
cooked,
right?
You would find freeze dried. You would find air dried. You would find cans and cups and all sorts, broth pour overs and so many delicious things that you could do. So, if you're the pet parent who wants to cook for your dog and you want to take that time, you could get that experience by kind of creating a plate, right? You can have fun, whether it's a bowl, whether it's a lick mat. You can have a good time putting together all these fun nutritional pieces for your animal and see how they react to things.
Great. Yeah. Tell me, do consumers have the possibility to contact you guys somehow? How do we get your food? Where do we find your food? If we want to know something, how do we get in touch with you?
Our website's a great resource. Healthextension.com has everything that a pet parent needs to know. Products are available at great prices with subscriptions, and any questions that they have, they can chat with us immediately. They can speak to a staff nutritionist.
Great. Do you also sell your food in retail or in the US, or where do you sell it?
Yeah, it's found in thousands of retailers all throughout the country. Quality doors that carry our products for, it's been decades.
Okay, fantastic, Brad. Another thing, you have another brand which is called Snuggaroos, right? I would like to mention that because that's the fun part of the business, right? The part is the serious part, and then there's the fun part. So Snuggaroos is the fun part, no?
You got to have fun. Yeah, some years ago, when we started moving into more sustainable options, and that became a bigger piece, I started looking at toys, and I found that there's plenty of options out there, but there's a few holes in the market and things that I just didn't see that I wanted to see. And I found that we make toys from recycled water bottles, right? And,
Wow.
And they're fun, and they're engaging, and they're colorful, and they're trendy. And as much as I love having conversations with pet parents about nutrition and all the stuff that we've talked about today, your puppies, you're supposed to play with them. You're supposed to have fun with them.
There you go.
Exactly.
Exactly.
To offer the full circle of engaging with that dog in your house, that family member, and doing so playfully has been a really fun kind of journey. And it's a great brand and a great fun for your dog.
Oh, wow. So you're covering actually two of the major parts, which I think, right, in the dog's life. One is the part like healthy nutrition, and the other part is like, let's have some fun and some play.
Well, and I'll give a quick quick is also, I don't know if you know this, I did dog training for over a decade.
Wow.
When I was younger, and one of the things that becomes so important is whatever it is, every dog, right? They're going to have their favorite toy, whether it be could be a tennis ball, it could be
yes.
Every dog winds up with that favorite toy.
It's so true. So true.
I wanted to be on that journey to be that favorite toy for your dog, because it's so directly tied to the behavior and the training that you do with that dog. The toy that you play with, it really winds up having a huge influence, whether you realize it or not, as a new pet parent. That toy and your control of that toy, right? You wind up really having to, again, you get to play with the dog, but you get to do it in the way that I own your favorite toy, right?
Right.
And that becomes a very important link as we talk about bridging that communication and that loving, trustful relationship with a little bit of respect that has to be tied into that love, and they'll learn to respect you when you own their favorite toy. And so I like the opportunity to provide that to a pet parent.
Oh, this is absolutely right, and that is such a useful tip at the end of this interview. To kind of how do you work and actually play with your dog in a way which is also educational. So, Brad, we're coming slowly to an end. Just give us like your vision on the three most important things a dog should learn or should be able to do.
What do you mean learn?
Like it should be able to walk on a leash. It should, yeah.
Oh,
I have three.
Yes. Yeah. I'd have to give that some thought. I think being able to have your dog walk on a leash is awesome. For me, I think it's the goal should be to have your dog walk off a leash.
Good one. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So if your dog can walk on leash, which means that you can take them for a walk, which you need to do. Sure. That's of course a huge step in training. But the goal should be set higher, in my opinion. It should be to train your dog to be off leash. And if you wind up on leash, that's great. That's wonderful. Yeah. But off leash would be my first goal. To establish yourself as I kind of was just talking about with the toys. As a pet parent, establish yourself as the alpha. Establish yourself as the main person that your dog has to rely on. Which ties again to nutrition. What's the dog's favorite time of the day? Right? It's feeding time. Right? This is what they look forward to. It's playtime and it's feeding time. Right? So remember that while you're doing that, to stay consistent, to be that alpha in the room, to feed them on your time consistently, to play with them on your time consistently, to take away the bowl of food when the dog is done eating, to take away the toy when you're done playing. That way the dog remembers, oh, wow, mommy or daddy, I have to go to them when I want my food or when I want my favorite toy. So that's the other key piece, I think. Very, very important.
Love it, Brad. Thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure to see you again. Such a pleasure to talk. And I think people are going to profit so much from your know-how. And I wish you all the best for health extension. We are going to keep gently cooked top of mind. I think this is really important so people can have access to this fresh food without all the hassle of freezing and chilling it. I think that's fantastic. And Snuggaroos for the fun.
It's a big piece of everything I do, Peggy, is it comes down to a few words. It's enjoy the journey.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're a wonderful person. Thank you so much, Brad, for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Bye, Brad. Have a great day.
You too.